Welcome to the Engage Consulting's AI HR interview series. I recently had an opportunity to interview some of the most prominent HR leaders in Pakistan and talk about how they, in their organizations, have digitalized HR processes and how they're currently using, but specifically how they're planning to use AI within their organizations. Listen to how our guests have transformed their organization and achieved workplace excellence. Our today's interview is with Jamal Nasir, Chief HR Officer at HBL.
Welcome, Jamal, and thank you for accepting this invitation. HBL is at the forefront of transforming itself to a digital bank. Tell me a little bit about why and how far you think HBL is on that journey.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Firstly, thanks, Paul, for this opportunity to share some of our experiences. But look, we've as HBL, we've been on this journey for quite a number of years now, and the main reason is that's where the world is moving. That's where the customers are moving, and that's really what's going to be required. Now, to give you a little bit of context, we as an institution now we're 80 years old. 5 years back, when we turned 75 years old, we had 12 million clients. So 75 years, 12 million. In the next 5, we've gone from 12 million to 37 million. So that's the pace of change that we've brought about at HBL. And our branch network has not changed at all. So it's all been digital. And if we didn't have that digital capability, and if we hadn't started investing heavily on technology a number of years back, we wouldn't be where we are today. That's one. The second is, if we don't go down this road, if we hadn't gone down this road, the global competition would eat you up. Absolutely does. Now, there are the 5 digital licenses that have been given out by State Bank. We expect those banks to start to operate, later this year, next year. And that's going to be another, competition that's going to be coming through. As far as we're concerned, we already have HBL Connect, which we consider as our digital bank. And that's what we're trying to accelerate a lot faster. Now, in terms of and the numbers I'm telling you, they're from the annual statement, so it's no secret. Last year we spent 20 billion with a B on technology. The closest bank to us, any bank in Pakistan, spent 7. Wow. That's the scale of what we're trying to do vis-a-vis in investing. And if I look at the number of employees we have in technology roles today, of the 16,000, roughly 1,500 are in technology roles, and I expect that number to go from 1,500 to close to 4,000 in the next 2 to 3 years. That's really what that's global standard. It's not as if we're doing something different. We try not to compare ourselves with other institutions in Pakistan, but we do want to benchmark ourselves against the best in class globally, and that's really where we are. So around 25% of global bank employee base are in technology roles. So that's really who we are and what we're.
That's where you're going to go. And then you mentioned that it is primarily driven that customers want to go digital. At the same time, I'm sure employees want to go digital. So what have you done in terms of to digitize the HR function in order to capture that desire from employees as well as people that want to join the bank?
Okay, look, I'll draw the analogy and I'll give you an example. I'll tell you where we headed on the customer front, and then I'll draw the analogy with the employee front. Now, as I said, 37. We ended last year 37. We expect to be around 50, but anywhere between 50 and 60 million by end of 2025. And a challenge, Paul, is really about being able to personalize the banking possibilities and the offering to each and every of the 50 million clients we're going to have. So we can't just have one product and one solution fits all. We have to go down to each and every customer level, and the only way we can do that is going to be through data and through personalization. And that's the approach we're trying to take on the employee front as well. That we're going to have to personalize. And to be able to personalize an HR and employee offering to each and every one of our 16,000 staff, we have to have the right amount of data and exactly what their aspirations are, what they want, what their capabilities are, what kind of roles they're in, and where they're trying to go. So we started this, we started this around 2015. So we've been on the HR automation and digitalization journey for the last 9 odd years, and we started with implementing Oracle. Now we're in the fag end of transitioning onto the Fusion Cloud with Oracle. That gives us a lot more other capabilities. And again, the intent is even 9 years back when we across the board rolled out self-service, automated processes, etc. As far as I'm concerned, it was easier implementing it. It was more difficult changing mindsets. Because again, when you're in an organization which is 80 years old, you have a very mixed demographic. And so getting them to change and getting them to utilize the functionalities and the offerings that we had in HR was the critical piece. So changing mindsets within HR was my biggest challenge when I got to this role in this bank.
Yeah.
And then changing the mindsets across the organization. So we've been on this journey for some years. Obviously, the challenge is and the challenge I pose to myself is how do we keep pushing the boundaries and how do we keep stepping up every year? And that's the fun part.
So give me an example of a process that you would not have been able to digitize 4 or 5 years ago, and now you're gaining significant efficiencies and or other value out of doing that. Any specific example that you want to share?
Okay, I'll give you one example, and again, and I'll talk about that in a little while as well in terms of what we as HR push and drive across the organization. So one of the first things, around three years back, I latched on to robotics and RPAs, which are robotic process automation. And so we hired somebody, and I said, "Come in, I have a process. Let's experiment this in HR. If it works, we'll tell everyone. We'll look at implementing in other places. If it doesn't work, we won't even tell anyone we tried this." So I brought this smart little smart guy in who just come back from Saudi, and I said, "Look, I have this problem where we are required to check everyone's credit history, all employees' credit history once every year. And if somebody has gone 90 days past due on his or her payments to wherever the person's borrowed from, then we question and we have to settle. And because as bankers, we have to make sure that there is no banker within HBL who's defaulted on a loan. And so what our teams were doing earlier is 16,000, but then we were around 17,000, getting onto the website, State Bank website, downloading and printing 17,000 ECIBs, looking at each one of them and saying 90 DPDs, which is days past due, anyone in there or not? No? Okay, fine. Yes, okay, now I need to send an email. So I said, let's go and put a bot in there. So we put a bot in there. The bot goes and it operates at night as well, and it operates 24/7. It would go onto the website, pull it down, read the ECIB, and if it didn't find anything in the 90 DPD box, clear. If it did, it would go back to the Excel sheet that was connected to it, pull out the email address, and send an email to the employee saying, "You're showing 90 DPD in your credit history. Tell us why and when it'll be cleared." Now that process, it used to take them around, good part of 2 months for one person to do this. After we implemented this, it takes us 3 days. So
amazing.
That's just one small example of
exactly.
That's the start of the RPA revolution within HBL. Now we have RPAs running everywhere in all functions, compliance, operations, consumer, everywhere you talk about it, we're implementing more and more, and we're pushing that agenda very, very hard. And I remain on the steer call for the RPA's rollout within HBL, because that you have to drive change. It's again about driving change.
Awesome. And similarly, in terms of this customization for employees, which I think is very interesting and very important in order to still come across as human, correct? Or at least as being interested in the human side of employees. What have you done there in order to be able to provide people with customized suggestions and or solutions?
Okay. Look, there's some parts which don't necessarily relate are digitalization or AI. For example, providing a menu of benefits. So flexible benefits, either you take this or you have an option to take something else. But to operationalize that, when you have an employee base of over 16,000 people in Pakistan and 12 other countries, you cannot operationalize these kind of things if you don't have an automated, strong system in the background to be able to manage it.
Yeah.
So we built that infrastructure to allow us to be able to offer these things. Now, where we headed now, as we talk now, and starting to use AI. Now we're looking at a lot of segmentation and segmenting. So right now, maybe I'm jumping the gun here about some of the stuff that I want to talk about. But at this point in time, Paul, we have around 1,700 different titles and designations in the bank. I'm in the process of reducing the 1,700 titles and designations from 1,700 to around 35.
Huh. Okay.
And so what we're doing is we're segmenting all our employees into 6 different segments, and so we're coming up with the generic skills and the overarching skills that are required in that particular segment. What that is going to do, and once we're just building this, and by June we'll have this ready. But once we will have this, then using AI and using the capabilities that we now get with Oracle and Fusion, we'll be able to map their skills and capabilities with who's doing what in the organization. And if we need a role, right now we'd say, oh, data analyst. Oh, okay, we just have these 72, and so if we don't have one in the 72, then we got to go hire outside. We have other people in the bank who fall under that segment who have that capability as well. So we go to them and say, oh, here's a role, come and do this role for us. And so that is, so with what the capability then now we're going to have now with AI is really getting down to that skill level and capability level and saying what is required and where can we fit whom. And that will give us capabilities for employees to build their career roadmaps based on the capabilities that we have and the capabilities that are required in the bank. And that's the customization and personalization that I'm talking about.
And then you can map also specific skill trainings around that, and people can then, on demand, derive that from the system.
Yeah. So what we're doing now is by June, when we have everyone segmented into one of those 35 different personas that we're building, each persona will have a skill requirement. Now, then we're working with an external consultant, a provider, operates out of Singapore, who has assessments for each of these 35 different personas. So we're going to we will put people through this. The people will know what they're good at, where the gaps are, and then based on that, we build an entire training curriculum.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. So in terms of the talent acquisition side, I'm sure you get thousands and thousands of candidates. How do you make sure that you build that efficiency on the one hand, on the other hand, build that employer brand that people say, hey, this is still a personalized experience that I have with HBL, because at the same time, those candidates are also your customers, correct? Not just as a talent side, but also as a bank side. What have you been able to do using AI and digitalization there?
Okay, so what we've done is our entire TAPs end to end is all automated. So and again, it's more so for particular roles and more the bulk roles that we hire as compared to some of the other more specialized roles. But if you're a relationship manager, and if you're hiring for a relationship manager, you would go onto our hblpeople.com, go in there and apply online, and so 99% of our applications come straight through online. We don't entertain manual or paper based CVs, etc. So you apply there, and again, what we're now doing is working off of Oracle. Is one is obviously the parsing capability is brilliant. So all you need to do is upload your CV. It will pull off all the required fields and slap it onto the application form. Gets you to just read and check and submit. And once we have that, now we're working with Oracle on an AI engine, which is now built in, is where then they start to look at all the capabilities that we have. And again, as I mentioned, the segmentation that we're doing, based on that, we're going to start pulling the capabilities required, and then it'll, based on that, start to look for those kind of capabilities in the CVs, and then identify which are candidates which have a higher probability of getting selected. Once we have that, then they go through a gamified tool that we have, compliments of Paul Keijzer, and so I think we've had that, Paul, for I think now more than 3 years.
4 years, yeah.
3 or 4 years, and it's doing very well. So the kind of candidates that get shortlisted from that is wonderful, and so they go through that online gamified solution. They take that test, and if you clear it, then you go on to the interview stage. Once you go to the interview stage, then again everything is absolutely automated end to end, including the offer letter, the files, and entire thing. Then it all gets digitized and straight through. One interesting that we think we're experimenting with right now is another, working with a provider out of Singapore. He's developed an algorithm where, using voice, they can judge the integrity of a person.
That's an interesting concept.
They had built this for a different purpose, and that's what they had come to me with. And I said, that's fine, but can you do it for this as well? And so they're also quite excited. We're also quite excited, and we're experimenting that, because look, the nature of roles and jobs in the banks and everywhere require a very high level of integrity, especially cash officers. They're dealing with cash day in, day out, millions and millions.
It sounds like a lie detector.
Kind of, yes, it is. And so it gives you an assessment of the kind of stress you can manage and your level of integrity. HSBC uses that globally to assess the well-being of their staff in terms of are they under stress or not. They're doing that globally. When I was having the conversation, they're using this to assess whether people should be given loans or not.
Yep.
Small loans. So we're testing that, and that's again AI based, and he's telling me that it has around 73% validity. So we're going to test that as part of our initial process as well. So these are now new tools that are coming through based on AI and machine learning, of how you can make your process a lot more efficient and getting the right kind of person through the door.
Yeah, the other one that I like is the initiative that you've taken with regards to 360 for your senior team, and not just look at the feedback that's being given, but then use an algorithm to create insights around that. And then, as we've talked about, how you can create an AI engine that then suggests a development plan for that individual based on those 360 insights. Again, it takes it a step further, correct? Instead of just thinking about, I give you feedback and then you have to figure out what I'm going to do with that feedback. it allows you then to say, hey, I've got the feedback, I've got the insight, I know what to do, I can then decide when and how to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you know, I quite enjoyed working with you guys on that solution, and I think it just provides line managers a very simple tool in terms of helping their team members, you know, improve their you know their behaviors and interaction and working within the teams, and now we're using that data that we got from you and doing a lot of cuts and analyses. And for example, we're also, you know, institutionally, we also give each and every employee a values rating every year as well. So the what and the how as well. And we did find extremely strong correlation between the ratings that the line managers were giving their staff with the values behavioral ratings people were getting on the 360. So
Okay.
it was quite interesting.
Yes.
Obviously, there were, you know, 10 or 20 outliers out of the 400s, and
Yeah,
we're trying to
that's
understand
fine.
what's happening
Yeah.
and working with the line managers as well. But yeah, the amount, the kind of data that we get is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm now working with a client that actually wants to do a culture fit gamified assessment for all levels, in which they're going to assess whether a person fits the values that they have. And again, allowing them to be able to identify who fit, whether it's integrity or other values, whether they fit in the organization as such. And again, it's not just about the assessment itself, it's about the information that you gather and what you can do with it. I think that is where the power comes, correct? But
again, you know, I think what's important, sorry, Paul, but I think what's important is building that capability within HR. If you don't have that capability within HR,
because where do you think we stand in Pakistan in HR in terms of first understanding, secondly having the ideas in terms of how we can use AI, and then thirdly implementing that in our companies? What is your view of where we stand on that regard?
Look, I think the landscape is kind of checkered. We have some, you know, brilliant examples, and we have a number of very extremely average examples as well. And I lay the blame fully and squarely on us HR people. We need to raise ourselves. We need to understand what this means, the implications, the challenges, what's required, the use cases that we can try, what the impact, and more importantly, the change management aspect that's required. And the second piece is we have to, HR's got to drive that agenda very, very hard. It's not about implementing AI or digitalization or automation within HR. Our responsibility is to drive that through the organization. And to be able to drive that through the organization, again, it's understanding the implications and the fit, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and how do you manage that change. So, you know, 3 years back when HR is the one that pushed the RPS through the organization. Last year we picked up and you know, we've now implemented. We're possibly the first organization in Pakistan to go down the scaled agile methodology route. And again, difficult, culturally very, very difficult for people to understand and comprehend with. We've kicked off our first, you know, agile release train. We started that, you know, 2 months back. We're working that in our HBL Connect, and that really changes mindsets. It challenges mindsets, but what the benefit is, you speed to market, customer focused and oriented products, and really incremental improvements and changes. And so these people working together in teams, but that's now going to require us to change how we assess them, how we reward them. And that's why I say it's very important for HR to understand the implication, have the kind of capability and skills within HR to be able to drive these organizations. The third thing is now
So
AI. I'm the one who's driving AI through the various parts of the organization. And I keep saying that's it's HR's responsibility to drive change in the organization. And so you need to understand what's going to work. It's not about this is the latest fad, let's try this. The larger the organization, the more difficult it is, and so you have to really understand what's right, what's not, and then we push it. So my advice and my plea to my HR colleagues is to understand what these are, understand the change management that this entails, and then drive it very, very hard. So you got to learn yourself. If you don't learn yourself, you're not going to get anywhere.
No. I think it's about being curious. It's about looking at things in terms of how can I do differently, and then pushing yourself to try out, experiment. And often I feel that sometimes we have an idea, but at the moment it's too difficult, we can't do it. And at the moment, everybody then sticks with generative AI or ChatGPT to make emails. I mean, that's about it.
That's been there, done it kind of situation. But you have to experiment, and I think one of the things that HR needs to and can drive is that sense and of innovation in the organization, and you drive innovation through getting people to try and experiment and saying, look, it's okay if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And so we were with these, with AWS, a few months back, and they were telling us about their culture of innovation. And one of the things they said, Paul, was saying we like to experiment, and when you're experimenting, you don't know what the outcome is. If you know what the outcome is, then it's not an experiment. And I walked away from that meeting, with a light bulb on, lit extremely brightly. And I said, I gotta try something. So I picked that up for 3 months back, and I said, we're going to try an absolutely new concept in a branch. And we've been working on that, and we're going to go live the 16th of May. And when it's up and live, and I'll tell you what it is.
Absolutely.
We said we take 5 branches, we experiment. We're changing the way the people will work in those branches. We're changing the way those branches will look and feel. And so we're changing everything. But what's important is we talk to the customer, and they say, yes, this will work for us. Now we want to try that concept. We want that experiment, whether it works. If it works, we potentially think we can change 500 of our 1,700 branches to that concept, and that will change. It has potential to change banking, but that's you have to keep trying.
I would love to see it. As a Pakistani, or as an embraced Pakistani, for me it's also important that we build capabilities here at home to be able to develop and implement some of these tools. You've mentioned a couple of times that you've gone abroad to find help and to find solutions. What can we do to create a more capable ecosystem in Pakistan in order to help build these AI HR capabilities at home?
3 things. One is having organizations like yours who are willing to try and create new stuff. Some will work, some will not work, and I think that's absolutely fine. And that's where the organizations come in as well. Look, we have to put some stake in the ground to try and experiment some of this stuff. Experimentation will take a little bit of cost, but we're going to try it. If it works, nothing like it. That's one. Second thing is we need to have enough of organizations that buy in and want to try and get onto that bandwagon. Because the more you have, the better data you have. The more data you have, the better your AI engine is going to be. And that's why it's exceedingly important. The third piece is really what I said earlier, is taking that risk and saying, I'm going to try something different. But I learn what it is, and then I have nothing wrong, absolutely no qualms in saying I don't know 10% of what's happening in the world, but I got to learn.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm really grateful for the support that you have given myself, but also the Talent Games and Engage Consulting to experiment new things. And then let's hope that our latest venture into this AI interview assistant is going to be fruitful as well. But I think we're onto something, and I've already got 3 other ideas in terms of what we can build onto that.
So
And
just to let other people know what you know what we're conspiring around is really around, you know, once somebody puts in a CV, then potentially they go through the gamified screener, and once they've gone through the gamified screener, there will potentially be a bot that will conduct an interview for these bulk roles, and that will the interview will be based on the capabilities that we require for that particular role, and testing them on that. And so once they clear that, then we do the physical face-to-face interview. Otherwise, you know, off they go.
Absolutely.
So, I think there's huge potential.
It's not just the interview; it's also the assessment of the quality of the candidate that comes with it.
Correct.
And my aim is that over the next 3 months we have an English version up and running, and very soon thereafter an actual Urdu version up and running. Because that if you crack the English one, I can crack the Urdu one as well. And then we have a unique opportunity and create significantly more inclusion. Correct? Because at the moment a lot of people find it very difficult to enter companies like HBL because of some of the language barriers that are there. But if we're able to take that language barrier out, I think we have a huge opportunity to create inclusion.
The other benefit is it takes out a lot of bias. In the early selection and screening process, it will take out a lot of bias, which all of us have. And so what we're hoping is, you know, it'll create a level playing field for all the candidates who are applying for particular roles.
Well, if there's something that somebody has not picked up from this conversation, is to keep on trying and to keep on experimenting. And I know that I can count on you for both of us to experiment, Jamal, and to push our boundaries and to see what's possible. Well, thank you for this conversation. Much appreciated, and good luck on that AI journey. It looks absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jamal. That was absolutely awesome. And chapeau, yeah. Is there anybody else that you think is even halfway of what you're doing?
Look, you know, and I feel conflicted at times because, you know, some of these multinationals, they will do what the principal is doing, but the principal haven't gone down that journey yet, so it's difficult. And local organizations, I think, you know, at times I'm not going to take a risk because they themselves don't know what they're getting into. So, you know, maybe AI and HR, you know, one day or a seminar or I don't know, something to help people come up the curve. A lot of people are scared about what this is, and because they don't know. So it's about, you know, they want to think and look knowledgeable, but they haven't done enough reading and understanding of what this is. But you know, maybe if we can showcase certain, you know,
I think
use cases.
Exactly. I don't want to do this because they've already done 4 HR conferences about digital and AI, and the same guys are speaking, and it's all big words, but I don't see any action. What I really am keen on is actually maybe do even a 4-hour session in which we actually showcase use cases.
I think that's important, but you know, the sad part, Paul, is, you know, we try and do a number of these, you know, 1-hour, 2-hour talks through the PSHRM platform as well. The heads of HRs don't turn up. They just don't turn up.
That's crazy.
And it's surprising. You know, I've gotten McKinsey in there, I've gotten Corn Ferry to talk, etc. They don't turn up.
No, that's sad. That's sad.
And that's what bothers me.
Let's not give up. Let's not give up.
No, I have not given up. I mean, you keep pushing. And you didn't ask me that question, but in my mind, you know, I think you sent me a question saying, you know, where do you see the future happening? And I see the divide becoming bigger. between organizations that get it and will be competitive globally, and organizations which are very introvert, inner looking, and not wanting to try different things. I think with where AI is going and where technology is going, I think the divide will become bigger in Pakistan as well.
I'm fully with you. And one example that is a little bit in the back of my mind that I feel very sad about is that very proudly we would often use Engro as an example also in the HR field, but over there's nothing happening anymore either. So
too much change.
So yeah, some of the leading companies that were there are also falling by the byline, and that is I'm pretty sad about it. But if you don't push the envelope, nobody will. So let's keep on pushing.
Absolutely.
Let's keep on swimming.
Thank you for watching. I hope you really liked our AI HR interview series. If you've enjoyed it, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But even more important, if you have a specific use case to use AI in your HR processes, let us know, and together we can explore how we can use AI in your company.